Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Danny and Stan's Football Weekend right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. It's brought to you by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. Go visit Chad and his fine company and get some help on healthcare as 2021 dawns here. We now are pretty well entrenched into the new year. A lot of things are the same. We hope a lot of things will change during this year, but one thing that won't change is that you need healthcare. So go to Chad Beisel and NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com, the fine sponsor of this particular broadcast, which today obviously features college and pro football. The Kansas City Chiefs have an opponent, and it probably was the one that many people would have picked as the one they wanted the most. We'll see if that proves to be true. And, of course, we have the national championship game tonight, a game that I think is interesting, but I don't know if people besides the fans of the two teams are excited about it. I don't know. I'll get Stan's temperature on that as far as that's concerned, but it should be a high-scoring and fun college football game to watch. And, of course, we've got some other great matchups in the National Football League this weekend as well after what was a pretty exciting weekend of professional football. And most of the games had some intrigue in some way, shape, or form. We'll dive into it all coming up next on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's becoming a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com and let Chad help you. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from RecExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit wreckexpert.com and learn more.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Well, Stan, let's start off with the Kansas City Chiefs angle, and they have themselves an opponent now, and it is the Cleveland Browns. I think there's a couple of levels to look at it here. I'll just lay out what I think real quick and get your reaction to it. The way the Steelers looked, they looked old, tired, and ready to lay down somewhere. So maybe the Chiefs weren't going to play them right away anyway, even if they won. And also, they really kind of handed the game in many ways to the Browns. Now, the Browns were there to take it and be aggressive and continue to put their foot to the floor in the game. So I don't know how easy it is to judge what the Browns did because the Steelers were so awful in the game. But the Chiefs will play a Browns team that you could look at it one way, that they maybe expended everything, that was their Super Bowl. They've had all kinds of COVID issues and things like that, or maybe with Kareem Hunt firing them up and so on and so forth, and the fact they have a great running game, they'll provide a top-quality opponent for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a whopping favorite. It opened up about 9 and is already up to 11 points as far as the betting line is concerned. First of all, your thoughts on the Browns coming to town?
Well, the team that I wish that the Chiefs would play when you look at the AFC opponents is the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we didn't get to choose them last week because there was no way anything that happened on Saturday and Sunday just passed. There was no way they were going to be playing the Chiefs. They and the Buffalo Bills were not an option. So I was hoping they'd play the Cleveland Browns, and so I think they got the best option they could for this division opponent game. I think the Steelers were the ones struggling the most, obviously made so many mistakes that put themselves in a big hole, something they've done for the last half of the season. They did start 11-0, but even before that 9th, 10th, 11th win, they were taking on water, if you want to say it that way, and they never really were able to come out of it. Cleveland's not a bad football team. I think the big take that I had going into the game was two-pronged for Cleveland. Number one, I thought that the COVID issues would have no effect on their play. These teams are not practicing much in the NFL anyway. It's become an intellectual game during the week. A lot of walkthroughs, not much physicality. Can only wear full uniforms less than 15 times a whole season now. So I just really expected Cleveland to show up and play fine. I thought that was proven when the Tennessee Titans sat out forever and then went out and lit it up. So that was one thing. The second thing I thought is Cleveland would be satisfied making the playoffs, have some pressure of trying to go and get it done in the playoffs, and I thought the pressure was taken off completely. When you go through a week like that and no one gives you a chance, you suddenly say, let's don't worry about the pressure of, we've got to prove ourselves and win a playoff game. Let's just go. Let's play loose. Let's see what we've got. And they did a good job of that. Everyone wants to say that Pittsburgh gave the game away, and that is true. Check that box. But the Steelers made a nice run, and Cleveland had to go win it again. So I do give them credit for winning the game because what they did in the third and fourth quarter when their heat was on, they went and drove the football down, made plays, and did a nice job. They're not that much different than the rest of the pack, okay? They're not that much different than the Colts if I were choosing between those two teams. I think the Ravens have a chance to separate themselves and be the hardest team to beat. Buffalo, again, showed a lot of the things that make me nervous about betting on them being the greatest thing ever. They could have lost to the Colts. Drop passes by Rivers receivers and running backs really cost them. And then, they didn't make a play here or there. Coaching was uber aggressive, uber modern analytics, and crazy. Kicked the field goal when they should have earlier in the game, and the game would have unfolded completely differently. So Frank Reich just decided we're going to go for it here and play it the modern way. And I thought that was a bad strategy. I guess it's always 50-50. It could come out one way or the other. But Cleveland is a legitimate team. They have a formula, Danny, that you and I have talked about for a long, long time. The odds of beating the Chiefs, not great for anybody. But if you're going to beat them, you ought to be able to run the ball at some point. Take the air out of the game, attack the Chiefs' weakness, and allow maybe Tyrann Mathieu to have to come up to the line of scrimmage, so then you can throw the ball out better into the secondary and into coverage. So they are not a bad football team. I think they'll gain some confidence after winning the last ball game, but they're so beat up. I mean, they had to exert so much energy. It was a weird off week for them to not practice. I didn't think it would affect them in that game, but you got to ask the question, will it affect them this week? How many guys will be healthy? How satisfied will they be winning the game over the Steelers? How ready will they be to light it back up and play for the Chiefs? But my biggest question about this game is, where are the Chiefs? Because they sat out, in my mind, 2 weeks. I know how they handle 1 week off. Andy Reid's proven that time after time after time. Give them a bye week, the Chiefs take off and play great. But this was really kind of a double bye week. So there's a little bit of concern, or at least I'll be watching the game early in the game to say, are the Chiefs just rested and ready to roll, or are they going to be out of rhythm just slightly having not played games? Again, I go back, Danny, they don't really practice much. Everything's three-quarters speed, and you're just not pressed in practice. It's not like it used to be where they try to create game situations. Now they create game situations saying it's a 2-minute drill. Let's work on these situational football things, which means they're a smarter group of football players. But if the Chiefs play their game, they'll win.
I guess the thing we want to look for the Chiefs is 3 times they came out last year in the playoffs, and 3 times they weren't ready to go. I mean, they just never got off to a good start. I guess the message can be pounded in, but I don't know if the Chiefs are ready to accept that message. They know they can get out of a hole. I don't know what to expect in the first. I'm not going to be surprised at all if at the end of the first quarter, the Chiefs fans are going, again, we're doing this again. What do you expect?
It's hard to guess.
Right.
I don't see a pattern of. Last year, I did not get a pattern of what happened. The Texans game was unbelievable. One mistake led to another. Tyreek Hill fumbling inside the 5 when he's pressing. I could put that together, but the Texans aren't any good, and the Chiefs rolled them after that. Then you do it in the Titans game. When you do it in the Super Bowl, I thought that game just unfolded exactly like I thought it would. I thought the 49ers were a legitimate foe, very equal to the Chiefs, and could have easily won the game. So I can't put them all together in the right way to come up with any conclusion with what's going to happen this year, but odds say sometimes they're just going to light it up early and look good. And boy, if they do, they're ahead 14-0 and things are going well. It's hard to see how an opponent is going to beat them. I know the Chiefs will let off the accelerator, if you want to say that, but it's hard to win in the NFL. You're going to have your ups and downs throughout a game. I think Cleveland's going to be feisty. Baker Mayfield gets a second chance to decide this game. First of all, it's Patrick Mahomes. If he goes out and does his thing, Chiefs win. But if the Chiefs have any inefficiency, then you got to look to Baker Mayfield and say, what kind of game is he going to play? The game he played against the Steelers was high level. I mean, the balls that he threw the hands of the defenders and stuck it right on his guys was incredible. The third down conversions early in the ball game when the outcome wasn't guaranteed, and then when there was pressure on them, again, he made all the right plays, and not by some crazy scramble, but throwing in the pocket. So Baker Mayfield, if he plays at a high level, they have enough components around him with the running backs and Jarvis Landry. I love him as a wide receiver. Cleveland could be dangerous if Baker throws the ball accurately and doesn't throw an interception.
Let's talk about the other. By the way, I just can't go on without getting this stat out there. The Browns had lost 17 straight games to the Steelers at Heinz Field. All right, whatever it is now. I think it's still Heinz Field. Anyway, they lost in Pittsburgh 17 times in a row, and that was third all time. First and second is the Detroit Lions, 21-18, I think. What does it say about your franchise? First and second in that category, the Detroit Lions.
It is so hard to be a Detroit Lions fan when you also just put in the whole state of the city. You cannot help that it used to be the place to be with automobile
Right.
Just it had its, sure, it's cold, okay, and all that. So I'm not talking about that. It just was a thriving center of activity, in a lot of ways, leading edge America, and so much of it's changed that you go, well, what do we have when we look around the town? You got so much of it used to be great, but it isn't so now. And then you can't look to sports and go, well, at least our sports are good. I mean, and then you look at how the organizations run, and they're turning over again. Stafford was thought to be a pretty solid NFL quarterback, put up good numbers, but he's fought like crazy. His wife fought through cancer. He's fought through injuries. You got to pat him on the back, but he's not getting younger. I mean, he's starting to slide.
Right.
So now you got to start. You're not there with, we got our quarterback. You're wondering about your coaching and everything else. And you're sitting here today, Danny, go, well, better days are ahead to come, but they're not on an upswing like the Cleveland Browns are. Okay.
Right.
Detroit still, you look around and you go, I got to vote them in. Every power poll you see, they're in one of the bottom 3 slots in the NFL for what they are right now. So you have added to it, Danny. It's hard being a Lions fan. Never been to a Super Bowl. I'm not sure the Lions have been to an NFC Championship game. I'd have to think about that. I think they lost to Washington.
Well, not NFC, not since it's back in the 50s they won the.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's since 1970s the merger.
Yeah, they haven't.
And I think they play the Redskins in an NFC Championship game or a divisional game in Washington when the Redskins were really good with John Riggins, but boy, they've had very little success.
Very little success. Let's talk about the other 3 games in a nutshell. The other AFC game features the Ravens and the Bills. Ravens won. Actually looked pretty good doing it, but 20 points. I'm thinking of it. Of course, they're playing the Bills this week, but 20 points ain't going to get it against the Chiefs. But that's a subject for next week, maybe. But they looked good. The Bills looked relatively good. What do you think about this matchup in Buffalo?
First of all, I think the Ravens had to get that monkey off their back that they can win a playoff game with Lamar Jackson, that he doesn't throw interceptions and look out of sorts, and they have no chance of coming back if they get behind. He threw an awful interception early, and they got behind by double digits. So for the first time since Lamar Jackson's been around, they came back and won the game. He made the superstar plays that is in his repertoire, and I went into the game having a big-time problem deciding which of these 2 teams I'd rather see the Chiefs play. I thought they were equally dangerous, the Titans and the Ravens. But I did say if Lamar has his feature game, then the Ravens are a little bit better. And he did. That 48-yard touchdown run is non-duplicable. No one else in the NFL is going to do what he did. So if he stays away from the interceptions and makes those plays, I think the Ravens are the better team. The Bills have struggled running the football. There's so much on Josh Allen's shoulders to do everything, scramble around. The Bills have to be gaining a little bit of traction in the fact that last year they dumped a game where they had the lead against the Texans, and they said, that's behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. When I saw him on the sideline, it didn't look like it was in the rearview mirror. When I saw Josh Allen, when the pressure was coming and the Colts were going, he had that look on his face like, oh, my gosh, not a confident look in my mind. So I think the Bills have a ways to go. I don't think they're as scary and dominant as a lot of people want to make them out to be. I thought the Colts were every bit their equal all day long.
Yeah, it was a really even, good football game.
So I think I would categorize the Ravens as slightly more dangerous than the Bills to the Chiefs.
Right.
Now, will they be able to go on the road and win this game? Supposedly the road-home stuff doesn't matter. Road teams won one more game than home teams did in the regular season, period. And this weekend, it was road teams 4, home teams 2 wins. So that part of it probably doesn't matter. I think the Ravens are a slightly better team than the Bills. I think with the coach, and it's just Lamar's such a variable. I mean, if he gets behind and starts throwing the ball with a lack of confidence, then they're not as steady. The Ravens have a wider range of how they might play than the Bills. Right. So I think, how you've done this with me for many, many years, 20-plus years, I would say Ravens get first chance to go win the game. They play their game, they're better than the Bills. Now, if they mess around and Lamar doesn't throw the ball well, then the Bills are more steady coming through. But as far as playing the Chiefs, I would think the Ravens are a little bit harder to beat than the Bills. That's why it's very good that we're seeing Cleveland come to town. It's not a cut down to Cleveland so much as it is, I'd rather say Chiefs are hosting the Cleveland Browns and Chiefs are hosting the Baltimore Ravens and look at having to beat the Bills maybe the next week as well. So really, I think the Chiefs have one super outing they need to have, and that would be against the Bills or the Ravens. This week they could play their A- game and win, B+ game and win, and a B game would be right down to the end of the ball game. And yet Cleveland has to do a lot of good things. So I'm still concerned about the Ravens. I think John Harbaugh and the Ravens organization's the real deal when it gets to crunch time.
Of course, in the NFC, we've got the Packers, and they are hosting the Saints. It's not supposed to be terrible weather, at least at this point in time. So that's
They're hosting the Rams.
The Rams, I'm sorry, the Rams. It's Saints are
Saints got the
Saints
home
are
game.
The Saints are the big game. Yeah, the prime time game. So anyway, the Rams come in, and the Rams have overcome some real adversity. Their defense is playing fantastic right now, and they need to. Even after he was able to go in the game and gut it out, I think that if Wofford's healthy, I think he's going to play, because I think we saw that Goff was compromised. So if the Rams are going to win this game, they're going to just have to shut down the Packers and win, 17-14 or 20-17. I think. What are you? I think if the Packers they seem to have more ways to win the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's hard to define how the Rams can do it, because the chances shutting down the Packers offense and Aaron Rodgers just doesn't seem to be likely to me, especially in modern football, where you basically got to start with the premise that they're going to move the ball and they're going to score. You think about the Pittsburgh game against Cleveland. Pittsburgh got wiped out. Everything went wrong. 4 turnovers. You know how many points they scored? They scored a ton of points still. So
right.
we're in a league now where you're going to get your points, and I think the Packers are going to get their points. How are the Rams going to get the number that they need? They totally stifled Seattle. Something looks wrong with Russell Wilson. He looks like he's, I don't know. I know they put padding on and stuff, but it looks like he's carrying like 5 or 10 extra pounds more than he should. When he runs, he doesn't look like he has speed. Does it look that way to you? I mean, when he rolls out, he used to just float out away from the lineman and then decide if he wanted to run 10 yards and slide. And now I keep wondering if he's going to get tripped up from behind as he rolls out. And he doesn't look like, when he's on the edge, Russell Wilson doesn't look like he's dealing. Like, I got you. I mean, I got receivers
which is so amazing,
because
early in the year it was let Russ cook,
right?
And then they've just really hit a wall, which doesn't matter now. They're gone, but there's always the possibility that he's really banged up, and we just don't know it.
He just doesn't. He's not himself, and the Rams stifled the Seahawks. But that has as much to do with the Seahawks not hitting on all cylinders right now. Now the Rams' defense is good. And you can talk about a shutdown cornerback. They've got it. Ramsey's doing an unbelievable job. And you got Aaron Donald and others who are playing well up front. So it's rare to see a team that leans on defense now. And I'm telling you, it's not a bad strategy, Danny. It's so counter to what everyone else is doing. It becomes dangerous. They should be more competitive than we think.
Look at the Bears. They played a competitive game with no offense, and because they have a really good defense.
Yeah, and the Rams are way better than the Bears on defense and can blow things up if Aaron's healthy, if Aaron Donald is healthy. So, yeah, I could see him mucking the game up and causing some issues, but I just think that Aaron Rodgers will find his way. So, I give an 80% chance that Green Bay wins the ball game. And I do think it's an interesting question you bring up about the Rams. I would have said the exact opposite of what you just said. Jared Goff is your starter, and he played almost the whole game. Why wouldn't you start him? I mean, why wouldn't you start him? He's your starter. Why are you looking to find your backup in there?
Oh, I wasn't saying I advocate.
No,
they haven't decided yet, and I think it's because he's just not right.
But I just think he played enough. You got to go with him. To me,
yeah.
Plus, something to watch in the NFL that we don't. I know you would watch this, Danny, but one of the things that starters don't get enough credit for is how they can stay and play game after game after game. Even if you miss 1 or 2 starts in a 16-game schedule, I'm not talking about that. How many times do you see a backup, Danny, come out on the field and then crawl to the sideline in their first game? Look at Heineke at Washington. I mean, everyone's just hugging that guy and saying, what an unbelievable performance. Yes, but he's hurt.
Right.
I mean, he couldn't even play one game. The Rams quarterback, Wofford, you're like, oh, this is cute. This is great. You're going to cause some – he gets hit and hurt. I mean, the credit the starters deserve for somehow getting back up and being there game after game after game is something we don't talk about enough.
Right.
This is not just this weekend. It happens all the time where the backups look good for a little while, and they go, "Oh, but darn, their fingers broke." Yeah, there's something about being a warrior,
Right.
lucky or not fragile. I don't know what it is, but starters in the NFL at quarterback position deserve a lot more credit for showing up. And I think we saw a couple examples this weekend, a couple of backups who really looked like they were doing things well, couldn't even make it throughout a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, it's the legendary matchup between guys who've showed up a lot of times. 42 and 43 years old, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Buccaneers, Brady looked very sharp in his game. The Saints were indeed compromised by the Bears' defense. A lot of pressure. Didn't look smooth, but really were in control of things all the way, and then seemed to gain momentum. Drew Brees is getting better, it seems, each week after the timeout for the injuries. He looked awful against the Chiefs, and so he seems to have hit his stride. I think this one's a tough call. What do you think?
Super tough call because they haven't had Thomas and Kamara and Drew Brees together hardly at all this year, and they need all three of those weapons offensively. And they were together. They're not hitting on all cylinders, but Drew Brees. This sounds like it's obviously me taking credit for what I said. That when Drew Brees played that game against the Chiefs, he was a shell of himself. And what has he said now? You probably heard the pregame shows.
Yep.
I came back a week early.
Right.
I mean, that was the easiest thing for me because I'd experienced it in my life. And so that's not the Drew Brees. That's the real Drew Brees. And he's getting closer to being healthy and normal, I think. So we're maybe going to see the best of the Saints.
Right.
Now, we got to break these components together and then mix them together and see what you think, Danny. First of all, anytime you see the Saints play the Buccaneers and rip them apart two different times, you've got to take notice of that. What
Right.
is it about the matchup? This is not a division foe that's done this year after year after year, okay? So we don't have that much data, and you could blow off the first game of the year when Tampa was just coming together and the Saints were excited and questioned, got a home game in a Superdome and everyone thinks Tampa's going to come in and wipe us out. They had an edge and just totally won the game easily. But the second game, Tampa was settled and now knew what they were, and the Saints just beat them up one side and down the other. So I'm having trouble getting away from that. I do not want to disrespect those two games. What is it about that matchup? Maybe the Saints defense, which I hear credited all the time. To me, it has to be modern, adjusted defense. The Rams may deserve legitimate credit, like you're a real defense, but the other ones are, hey, we held them to 20 points.
Right.
Well, that's not 10, but 20. I'm not that impressed with the Saints defense, but against Tampa, they've shown a lot. So right there, how do I leave that data set and say the Saints match up that well with Tampa Bay? Then I go over to the Tampa Bay side. I'm really high on where they are. I think Bruce Arians and Tom Brady have found their way. The tension they had was creative tension maybe, but Antonio Brown, Evans is now buying in and getting the ball. Gronk doesn't even need to have the ball thrown to him, and he's a factor. The other tight end starts catching balls. Tom Brady's firing the ball around the yard. Zip, accuracy. If you took a spinning ball and all you saw was the ball on an NFL films, Danny, not a bomb, but a throw over the middle, and you saw it, I don't know if you could tell if it's Aaron Rodgers' ball or Tom Brady's. They're perfect spirals with the same spin rate and just like a laser about ready to hit you up in the upfield number. That kind of throw. Brady, I think Tampa Bay is the real deal and could be a Super Bowl participant. I think they could beat Green Bay. But can they beat New Orleans?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I mean,
yes.
I think Tampa Bay's dangerous. I think they're coming together. I like their defense and Ndamukong Suh, David at linebacker. These guys can do some things on defense, slow down the run like some teams can't. So I would generally lead and lean toward Tampa over New Orleans. I believe in Tampa more than I believe in New Orleans, watching their playoff games, etc. But hey, you're going to be laughing at me if it's a third,
Right.
15-point win and the third time they beat Tampa Bay, and you're going, how could you ever come to that conclusion? And I'm telling you, listeners, I'm asking myself that question. How can I come to this conclusion? I'm really struggling.
Absolutely. That's pro football. Of course, tonight we've got the college football national championship game, two powerhouse programs. Alabama trying for 6 national championships in 12 years. Ohio State looking for their first since 2014. We'll talk about it next with Stan.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters. It's time to visit once again with Dr. Brad Woodle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. And Dr. Brad, your group has reached a significant milestone in receiving a prestigious award.
Danny, we've been honored for the 10th year in a row to receive the 5-Star Service Award from Integrity Doctors. And what this means is that all of our offices throughout Kansas City have made sure to give people excellent chiropractic and acupuncture care, be on time, and do a very complete and thorough job, and have great responses back from patients.
I know firsthand because I was just treated, for instance, today by you. You have a wide range of fantastic services.
Absolutely. Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies, rehab, anything that you need to keep you well in bones, muscles, joints, and nerves.
And I can't say how much it's benefited me in the time I've coming here, upwards of 2 years. My back has improved 100%. And you can have that same kind of treatment too. For more information and your chance for a healthier way of life, visit asfca.com/Danny today.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the pure gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new smart laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkScale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Well, Stan, I said it at the outset. I don't know if the neutral fan is excited about tonight's national championship game, but that doesn't mean it won't be a good game. I think even if you're a college football fan and your wife said, we have a dinner party tonight, back when that could happen, it wouldn't break your heart if you missed this game, or if you just watched it fast late at night or something like that. We've seen so much of this, Alabama and Ohio State. They were showing a game from Alabama and Ohio State the other day on TV, and I'm like, is that right now, or when? Which year is that they're playing each other? Well, they're at it again. I did see the stat that at least Ohio State, if they win the game, they will only tie for the fewest games played by a national champion in the poll era. So they will have reached that threshold of 8 games. I would make that just about enough to make it legitimate. Ohio State looked very good in their semifinal. Alabama has been torched on a few occasions on defense this year. So I can't imagine that we're going to look at 23-20 here tonight. I saw David Pollack from ESPN. He was asked how many points Ohio State has to score to win. He said 48. So what do you make of this matchup?
Well, first of all, you got to comment on that. 48 needed, and then you want to start shaking your head and saying there's no way. And I would say, open your mind back up. Ole Miss put 48 up against Alabama, and Florida scored 46 just recently. So
Right.
the high-scoring methodology that Ohio State may have to have is there, I think. I don't think Alabama's defense is stopping people. I can't tell you all the reasons why, but I think football's taken a turn. The elite level of football, Danny, has taken a turn for the worse. It's turned into arena football, and I do not think that's good. When Ohio State scored at least 5 straight touchdowns against Clemson from the first quarter on into the third quarter, it just is not interesting when every drive is supposed to be a touchdown and it looks that easy. You need a little more defense.
I agree totally.
You need the games in the 30s are awesome. Touch 40 I can live with. I love the offense.
This over and over. When Oklahoma was having those issues last year, when Alabama has these issues this year, there is no excuse for somebody who gets that level of athlete to give up that many points. There's no excuse. It's not like, Oklahoma comes in and they're playing Kansas. All right, their athletes are significantly better. All right, I get it. But you can't be giving up 46 and 47 if you're Alabama. That should not happen. It's fireable.
It's either fireable or it's the level of offensive play. It's not good football, and even modern football people would get bored if I showed them, an old-fashioned, tough January 1st battle, maybe a Rose Bowl game for a national championship, or a Sugar Bowl if you want to have Alabama in there with Barrett Bryant. And you see him grind down the field and work, and Penn State playing with Todd Blackledge, and you see a 17-13 final. I do think some people might fall asleep and go, this really isn't for me. So I think we're better off having offense.
Right.
I think it's...
I'll take 31-28.
Yeah, and I think it's great that when you're 14 points behind, or even the Steelers when they're 28 points behind, you can make a case that they were going to come back against Cleveland. I like that variability. It used to be Super Bowls, if a team got ahead by double digits, it was over.
Right.
There was no chance of a comeback. That was not good. So I'm going to take the modern way we play over the past period, but now the pendulum swung so far that the offense is absolutely ridiculous, and it becomes no fun to watch. The defenses are getting run over when Alabama's putting up 50 points a game. I mean, like I said, if you're better than somebody, go ahead and beat them 40-7. I'm okay with that.
Right.
But the best teams against the best teams, you and I had College Game Day back in the old 1510 studios. Is that Independence? Was that the town we were in?
Yep.
You and Kevin and I were sitting there talking on a round table. We said, what is our perfect game? And I think we all nailed either it was 31-28 or 35-31, 34-31, right into the 30s, 3 or 4 point game, some back and forth, some field goals involved. Right. To me, Danny, that's what I want to see. And what was most disappointing about the 2 semifinal games, the 2 bowl games, was it was track meet city. Watching Alabama go up and down the field was not any fun. And then Ohio State versus Clemson, all offense. So what do we have here? I expect a lot of offense.
Right.
And will it be thrilling if it's 48-45? I guess so. But to me, that took away a little bit of the luster for me, and I don't feel it. To answer your question, on a normal 1 to 10 scale, and we're getting ready for a championship game tonight, my meter would be banging on the 10. Saying, Danny, you're going to give me 11 or 12 scale? I would
turn it up to 11.
You know what I'm saying? I would go. I'd be like, oh, this is great. How can we not? And if it were Ohio State versus Alabama, I'd have no problem with all the storylines of how we got here. I don't really care. It's time for us to say they are juggernauts. They're traditional. They're also very good right now. They got NFL level stars. Let's go, because no one is having to fight uphill and go, boy, I don't know if we're ready for prime time. These 2 teams are ready. I would normally just say, how would I not be on a 10? And I'm not, Danny. It's today. It's Monday. We're taping this, and I'm going to watch it, but it doesn't compare to the NFL playoffs. It just seems a little late this year, not because they've done anything wrong. It just seems a little late. The way that they played the semifinal games, it wasn't good football to watch. And then this black cloud hanging over Ohio State, the Big Ten, and college football is not what I want. I mean, every time I do something, even to sports, it seems like, we get into a political mentality of one side or the other. Pick your side. I'm so tired of everybody wanting to pick their sides, you know? And then here we get to this game
and you're picking a side.
You got two juggernauts who you should say, there's no sides here. I mean, I'm not rooting for the underdog, or I'm not going to play I'm so tired of Alabama. I mean, you're saying they might win their 6th out of the last 12 years when everybody's spending money like crazy for football, and they win 50% of the championships? Are you kidding me? What a great accomplishment by Saban and the players to keep their concentration. It's an NFL training area, really, and they continue to focus on the job at hand. Right. Winning games. I mean, look how hard it is for Texas.
Right.
They think they're a training ground for the pros as well, but they get distracted. Alabama doesn't. I want to give them credit. Ohio State, you follow Urban Meyer, Coach Day. I mean, are you kidding me? He's doing just as well. There's a lot of great stories, but here I am back to my whole mind is like, I am rooting against Ohio State so much I can't believe it. And that's a bummer, because if the game's close, I'm going to be going, I wish Alabama would be smashing them. If Alabama's way ahead, I'm going, I can't believe I'm watching a game that's not close. Do I root for a close game? Or the worst is what they did to Clemson.
Right.
When I was rooting against Ohio State, at least would accept a good game, and instead it was a blowout. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think Trey Sermon is a guy who's really changed Ohio State, what he did in the championship game and what he did in the Sugar Bowl. The guy is a pro. I mean, he is. I don't remember watching him at Oklahoma, studying them, having him stand out like an Adrian Peterson did.
Right.
Okay? He just was another good college player playing for Oklahoma. And even earlier in the year with Ohio State, I didn't see it. But right now, he could run out with the Cleveland Browns and join the backfield.
Right.
And play. I mean, he looks so good. And then Justin Fields, I don't know, he reminds me of Lamar Jackson at his best. Unbelievable, but not usually at his best. He was against Clemson. How are his ribs and his internal right now? Is he in a Drew Brees situation where it isn't going to be good coming back? I don't know. I'm going to give the edge to Alabama because you're an idiot if you don't at least lean when you can't tell. But I would think Ohio State would score, be feisty, and somehow, I don't know, what do you call it? The score may not seem close. If Alabama's ahead by 17, but it's 48-31, it's really kind of a close game because it's just a snap of a fingers, a score here or there. That's what I expect. Alabama to have a scoreboard that looks good, but the game actually to be much closer.
That should be interesting to watch, even if it's not exciting. But I
didn't give you my number. I'm about a 7, and I got to get excited for the rest of the day, Danny. I got to go up 8 or 9. I'm hoping to get to 10 before kickoff.
We'll see if Stan gets to the top of the mountain today, and we will be back at it next week to talk about a fascinating weekend, and we'll have the Chiefs to break down and see whether they're moving on, or we're talking about bitter heartbreak for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think we're going to be talking about that.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com, specializing in expert healthcare guidance and assistance for you.